This next project that I've been working on for the last like week and a half or so, because I did about 15 seconds of animation. Basically, I was on Instagram one day, and there's an artist that I follow. He has some incredible art. His name is T.M. Wilson. He had a Draw This in Your Style challenge, and I am trying to get eyes on my work. I'm trying to get eyes on my stuff, so I just thought I'd submit something, but I was like, let me throw a curveball at him and see what he thinks. And so instead of drawing this in my own style, I decided to animate in my style. In order to stay true to the concept, I'm strictly animating in my style. I'm not drawing and then animating in my style. I just thought I'm going to save time by just basically copying his work, separating it all out in After Effects, and then animating from there. But what was fun is that I get to decide how this character is going to move, what he's going to do, how he's going to act. I really tried to stay true to Wilson's art so that he could see his own art animated and given life in motion. Not only that, but I added some sound to it. So I guess I'll just break down my approach. I just decided to start with the head and just like kind of create the main character before I had made the backpack and his other accessories like the sword and the bottles and stuff like that. I just thought, let me make the character first and make his face and stuff and develop all those kind of things. And some of the challenges that I came across were just trying to get the eyes to look correct, and like I added a wobble effect on the eyes to create kind of like a believable reflection, like a reflection on the eye, and that actually turned out really cool. But I thought that his blink, I had to do I just thought of it like a lizard or something, and so you know how lizards have like kind of like an inner eyelid before the external eyelid, and so I wanted to have kind of like this overlaid thing over his eye that comes up first, and then his bigger eyelid closes on top of that. At first I had them both blinking at once, but then as I was developing it, I showed my wife, and my wife was like, you should make them blink separately. and so we tried it where like one was like blinking like once, you know, and the other one was blinking a couple times, and so they're just completely independent of each other. But we ended up both agreeing that the kind of one always behind the other felt right, and so we did that. And just like as I kept animating and just developing things, the character kind of created itself almost. Like it was just the character behind the character of Squeebus. And so I just kept on going and kept moving, and After Effects crashed once where I had to backtrack like a good 30 minutes. It was a little bit frustrating when you get a good snowball of creativity going and then something crashes. And autosave, like my autosave didn't even recover anything. Like I hadn't, sometimes it works, most of the time it works, but sometimes it doesn't. So I had to retrace, 30 minutes of my work, but I had to go back, and that was fine. So yeah, there's a lot of expressions. I use tons of different expressions. Wiggle is my personal favorite, especially tying the wiggle strength modifier to a slider, because then you're able to animate the slider and you can choose how much something should move and wiggle around, and you can change that strength, throughout the whole timeline, which is really, really cool. So I used layers of puppet tools. So I love being able to do a pre-composition, and in that pre-composition I have a couple of different puppet tools to manipulate whatever's going on there, and then we can zoom out to the bigger layer, and then I can put puppet tools on top of that pre-comp, and it will move around the whole thing without disrupting the individual puppet layers. And so I do a lot of tying and modifying and compensating when I want, 2 layers on top of each other. Say I have like this arm right here, I put a puppet pin right here and a puppet pin right here, and then I have a mask layer over the top to cover up some of the detailing, and then I need that mask layer to move with that layer. And instead of pre-comping it, I just added puppet tools, and then I tied those puppet tools with the other puppet tools together, just using a lasso expression plus a compensator modifier expression. And where all I do is I just take the coordinates of my target layer and I subtract those coordinates from the main layer that they're tied to, and then it compensates them. Because if you don't add the compensator, it won't interpret it correctly, and then the puppet layer that you're trying to tie to it to move with it will be set in some crazy direction. And so it's all because of the layers on top of themselves and where anchor points are oriented. And depending on the difference of those, you have to compensate for the difference. And so, and this might not make sense to anybody that is not familiar with After Effects expressions, but if you are familiar a little bit with After Effects expressions, this is what you have to do. And I don't use scripts. It might cost me a little bit of time, but at the same time, I understand exactly what's going on. And so if I see that there's an error in the code, I'm able to go in there and fix it, and I know what's going on. Whereas with scripts, I run a script and I have no idea what's going on. And most of the time scripts work. I know that there's tons of animators out there that are diehard script users, but I do not use scripts, at least not yet. And so I might experiment with scripts at some point, but for now, I'm just... Squeebus came together and I used a couple of different shape layer tools. Eventually, I got him all illustrated, and then I had to animate him and for 15 seconds and decide what he was going to do. I thought at first maybe I would do a walk cycle. Then I was like, a walk cycle is going to be really intense. That's a lot of work with this level of detail. So unless I want to spend a whole nother week on this, trying to figure out a walk cycle, making it look convincing, how about I just do kind of just a stationary stance and maybe something funny can happen, something like really quick and easy. And my brilliant wife thought of something, and she was like, what if, since he's kind of like a frog-ish thing, what if a fly goes by and he snaps it up and eats it? And I was like, that's so brilliant. Let's do that. And so after I got him illustrated, I was like, I need to film myself. I decided to film myself acting like this little Squeebus character, and I took a 15-second loop of me acting out the character so that I could look at myself as a reference, and then I would just kind of match up a lot of his movements, not like exactly, but I used it as a reference to know what to do next, so I was able to kind of go to those finer little details of movement. On the master comp, I was actually able to animate him stepping around and kind of doing a lot of his movement with just 3 puppet pins. And that was really cool because there's a bunch of different intricate puppet pins on the inside to make his arms move, holding his back straps. Oh yeah, I made his sword in 3D. I'll have to sort this out in editing, but whatever. I'm all over the place explaining this. And so I think that was really helpful. I think as an animator, I need to know how things move, where the inertia of the body is, and how someone carries themselves. And this little character was so fun to just even put myself into as just to act out. I thought it was really, really funny. I guess T.M. Wilson called him Squeebus. My son he kept on coming into my office each day and he was like, are you making Squeeby? I was like, yes, I'm making Squeeby. And and he just loved seeing it come to life. Are we going to watch Squeeby?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
You made him happy.
I did. I made him happy at the end there.
A bug.
Yeah.
Squeeby.
There's the bug. The biggest challenge was him looking. I tried to make him look over because my character, when I was animating it, I looked up and I thought that would be kind of a cool movement to have him do. So he looked up, but the face details as they moved with him, they just were bothering me so much, and I couldn't get everything to just look right when it came to that face turn. I think this is something I'm still learning how to do. I think I spent a good hour and a half or 2 hours working on it just to toss it, and that's just something that happens, when you are, whether it's writing a song or making anything, you have to be willing to try things that you haven't tried before to see if you like it. And then sometimes you won't like it and then you have to toss it, which is fine. I'm totally fine with that because it still turned out great. I just kept on going through and got everything to just sync up and look right. I think one of the most fun parts was today. I did some sound design, and sound design does not take long. It doesn't take long at all, especially when it's just 15 seconds. You know, I can really get detailed with it, but I was able to just use the objects around me. I was just able to produce some sound effects with my mouth. Let's see, the blinks can sound like That should do it. And I just think the sound takes it to a whole different level. Like, it's just completely different. It goes from, hey, that's a really cool animation, to, wow, that just came to life. Again, sound is everything. Like, sound has everything to do with visuals. It brings this kind of work to life. So I'm not intending to win on this. I just wanted to see if he'll share it, because I'm just trying to get some eyes on me, just to see if I can get some work. And if you guys have any ideas, if you want me to produce something, if you want to hire me in some way, or if you want me to do some commission work, I won't do not safe for work stuff. I'll just draw about anything outside of that, you know, and I can animate it. I can add some stuff to it. Anything that you want to throw at me, please just hit me up. I would love to work with you and create something fun like this. So this is Squeebus. My boys love Squeebus, and so to TM Wilson, thank you for making Squeebus. This is a really fun project, and this is my submission. So yeah, thanks for Squeebus. I would love to animate more of your characters if I got the time. I'm not sure what else to say, but character animation is one of my favorite things to do, and I don't get to do it very often. So being able to just take someone else's character and put some life into it via animation was a blast. Just seeing the result and the fruit of my labor is very satisfying. So even if TM Wilson doesn't even share it, if I don't make the cut to be shared or whatever, I'm just happy to share it here. So cool. Thanks for checking out the video. This has been some heavy animation, and now I'm moving on to the next thing. So peace out.